interested in subjugating North and South Korea. Japan had leveraged on its military power to annex Korea in 1900 and imposed a military union that did not sit well with the citizens. Japan not only lost its war of conquest against Korea, all its powers were obliterated by the effect of the World War II. The end of World War II got Korea divided into two nations along 38 parallel lines by the instrumentality of the United States of America and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. The Korean War lapsed into a Cold War when it stopped the prying eyes of external forces into the internal affairs of a nation now divided along its north and southern territories. Western Spring Television identifies the Korean War as a major event in history. The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the Western Spring Television. Ours it is. July 31st, 2023, the very last day in the month of July it is, the very
very last day, and wow, 7 months gone by just like that. We'd like to say glory to God Almighty for the gift of life, for giving us the benefit and the opportunity to be counted amongst the living. We'd like to welcome you to another, the very last in July, and it's the beginning of another new week. Good morning to you out there, and how was your weekend? Mine was very, very beautiful. I know Femi is going to leak out a secret in the course of this program. All right, welcome to Morning Spring, your daily tonic. Mondays, it runs Mondays through Friday, and you can be rest assured that it's always super exciting. TUNDE, IDOWU, as always, is my name, and you can definitely click on me and plug in on Twitter at Irresistible TD. Femi, good morning, Femi.
Good morning, Tunde.
Yeah, so leak out that secret.
Well, first of all, good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Various and distinguished viewers all around the world, welcome you to today's program. And it's a very, very good time to be alive. As I always say, there is no better gift than the gift of life.
Absolutely.
For you to be alive,
absolutely,
especially having a good health. And at this time, it's we just have to take it, a day at a time.
One step at a time.
Comes. Definitely different things to talk about, different things to think, especially as a Nigerian. Challenges here and there, yeah, they will always be there. Even in the biggest nations of the world,
absolutely,
there will always be one challenge or the other. But then life is everything. And you know what they say about life? When there is life, there is hope. So that is it. It will be a very, very interesting one. This morning. So many things has happened, especially the course of the weekend. Talking about the weekend, I had a good time as well.
It's leaking a gradual.
To bond with family through the ethics of the weekday and then the weekend. Sometimes it gives you the opportunity to catch up with what has happened, especially the family plays around the community. But then, speaking about the weekend, something happened in Adamawa State. It was quite an eyesore. It brings back the memory of what happened post-COVID, and especially a part of the NSAS, aftermath of the NSAS as well. And it was reported that some persons, went to some warehouses, especially those owned by NEMA, the National Emergency Management Authority, and they looted the place. And the attack didn't just happen at a warehouse. It happened simultaneously. It looked like something coordinated, and people went there. Definitely your guess is as good as mine. Went away with food that were there, relief materials that were always kept there. And NEMA office is not just in Adamawa State, it's
everywhere,
all the states of the nation. So things are kept there, for emergency situations. And some people went there, looted the place, went away with food, with relief materials, vandalized the buildings. Speaking yesterday on live interview program, the deputy governor spoke to the matter and said, yes, they recognize that there is hardship in the land, but that is not peculiar to only Adamawa State. And so, yes, they note that things are not too good, economically speaking, but then that people should not resort to that kind of self-help, when they have to go through that particular means. But it speaks of the fact that something is wrong. Yeah,
Femi, I concur with you 100%. But the point, I'm not supporting what happened in Adamawa State, where they had to go vandalize, loot NEMA, and take everything. You see, it's unfortunate at this moment in time, whereby if you're hearing some set of people getting millions and millions of naira to themselves, and the few are getting 10,000 naira as palliative, 40,000 naira as palliative, it brings that a whole lot of annoyance.
That's even if it has started.
It brings a whole lot of annoyance to everybody. Okay, let's use ourselves as an example here. We come on air Mondays through Friday on Morning Spring. I meet so many other programs that we still run around and do, both on our sister station and here. And I get to hear that my chairman has just decided to give FEMI an official car. And probably I don't have one. And of course, the annoyance will definitely crave in to an extent that, with all the work I'm doing, FEMI, we are human beings. We need to be very realistic about this. It's what happened in Adamawa State. Yep, 100% for me, it wasn't good. But it's just an aspect of annoyance, anger that's in the air. In the land. There's so much tension in the heart of people. We've had this situation.
Sharp contrast in the standard of living.
Beautiful, thank you. You know, it's so very sickening. It's very painful that you get to see some people having 3 balanced diets. The common man, you and I, is either 101 or 011 or 001.
Depending on what balanced diet means to everybody.
And it's not even balanced.
Either the diet is even balanced.
It's just like, look, let me just get something and put in here.
Yeah, of course.
So that I can get up and probably hustle and do the needful again.
Yeah.
What happened in Adamawa State, 100% is not good, whereby we had this set of people had to go there, vandalize the building, take away things. But it speaks to the volume that if those things had been kept in there, do we always have to wait for emergencies before those things get out of those places? The country, the people are living in abject poverty. A couple of months ago, we heard about 133 million Nigerians. That's multidimensionally in poverty. And they've said that we are just about 200 million. So that's just about 60 something million, 70 million, thereabout, are just a few comfortable ones.
Not multidimensionally.
Now, even out of the 70, let's just approximately say 70, you still have the very, very rich, the rich, then it begins to slide down.
Of course, you know, over time, people have talked about that we used to have the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. But it appears the middle class has disappeared over time. So it's either you are up there or you are down there. And now, you know, when I saw the picture of the video yesterday, one thing came to my mind that you have spoken so well on it that, yes, people should not resort to that kind of self-help.
Absolutely.
To help, quote unquote, help themselves by looting, vandalizing, because you could get shot. You could get arrested and prosecuted. Something could have happened to you. And the fact that you feel you are hungry will not suffice, you know, will not be a reason enough for you to defend yourself. But then, I think is happening that should be arrested immediately.
Sure.
Because this is how the thing that we witness, the looting, the vandalism, or especially of government properties, and sometimes, I mean, at a point is spiraled to looting of private residences, in which people had to run away.
Honestly.
So I believe this thing that has happened in Adamawa should be addressed properly.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that it doesn't spread. Because if it leaves Adamawa and go to other states, you can well rest be assured that the effect will not be palatable. The country cannot afford that kind of a thing at the moment. The resident doctors are still on strike.
Oh my goodness.
So if you get injured, if you get, you know, hurt, who's going to take care of you in that? And then we are hearing that the Nigeria Labour Congress has given the government ultimatum that if something is not done, they will go on strike. So we can't afford that pandemonium. That it's high time. People, government at all levels, you know, sometimes we tend to talk about the federal government. I think the state government has
at all levels. At all levels.
It's sad that the local government has been rendered.
Oh goodness me! Which they are the closest to the.
Yes, they should really be handling these things, but in most states they are just, you know, the local government authorities are taken over by you know, caretaker kind of arrangement. And that is something that we should really address. But then what has happened in Adamawa, to just take the fact, is bad. But then we hope it doesn't spread. it should be handled.
And at this moment in time, we just use this medium to appeal to all government at all levels, from the federal leaders at all levels. Please, religious. We don't want a situation where there will be violence. There's so much tension at this. If you're driving out now and mistakenly, let me just use that word, mistakenly, an Okada man hits you on the side, breaks your side mirror. Forget the fact that you're wearing a blazer, a suit or something. You come out like a madman because there's so much tension in the heart of everybody. There's so much anger. Frustration. And I just want, we are appealing to government at all levels that please, to forestall this, let's do the needful. Yes, please. You definitely can follow us on all our social media handles, on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are blazing hot. We are live on those platforms at Western Spring Television. And also you can join our YouTube channel to definitely watch us, and you can, we'll be glad for you that you definitely subscribe, and let's get this started. Quite a whole lot is going to be talked about here. The newspapers, we've got quite a couple of dailies with us this morning, but in the course of the program, we will examine the approval of Mr. Governor, the Osun State Governor, His Excellency Governor Ademola Nuruddin Jackson Adeleke, the approval of the payment of arrears of half salaries that had been owed since the 2 administrations ago. The Aregbesola administration actually is coming from there. We heard that there is a 26 billion and there is another 50 billion. But he's doing the needful at this moment as part of his campaign promises. He made something last year while campaigning that he would do this. And this is a massive obligation that he has taken on. We'll definitely see to that. And let's first of all check out the headlines making the rounds from the dailies. But before we do that, we'll take a short commercial break. We will be back. Good morning.
Culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
and your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
On this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be showing on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time. with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeleke Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as they break with facts and clarity? Our news are reported as it is.
In Africa, and all those who masterminded the way it happened will have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs, projecting culture and tradition to the world. Brought to you as the break and recapped every hour for your update.
You must never forget the sacrifices of the heroes of Nigeria's democracy.
Produced and brought to you in a unique way never before seen.
Western Spring.
Western Spring.
And Western Spring Television.
Television is coming home in your color and culture.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Yes, you're welcome back. It's still Morning Springs on Western Spring Television.
Yeah.
Now, straight to the headlines for today. The stories as seen today from our major dailies. We have The Punch, the Daily Trust, and the Guardian. We start from the Punch. We have boldly written, uncover CBN and NPCL mess. Economist groups tell Tinubu's special investigator. Uncover CBN and NPCL mess. Economists groups tell Tinubu's special investigators. With riders, Tinubu appoints Obaze special investigator. EFCC, police, others to join probe. And investigators to go after ex-Buhari appointees. Private individuals hiding government funds. Today.
There's so much drama. It's just like it's a seasonal movie. The end, we don't know where it's going to end up and into. But looking at these agencies of government that will be probed to start with, I mean, too many of them. I actually wish they would put an agency such as NIMASA, Niger Delta, NDDC. These are agencies whereby the cash flow from these agencies is enormous. But looking at CBN, NNPCL, wow. In the last couple of years, we know what's been happening with CBN. Most especially with the Naira redesign that they came up with a couple of billions, don't let me say billions, with a couple of monies that were said to, that they will be bond, that we didn't even see these monies. That was during the old currency, during the Naira, Naira redesign, Naira change, and what have you. There's so much to talk about. Now, but I feel NNPCL has the bigger probe should be probed in a big way.
That's been the cash cow.
Seriously, really? Because even the last administration, while they said Mr. President was actually the Minister for Petroleum, still the enormous amount of corruption that emanated from NNPCL as alleged. We'll just keep our fingers crossed till then. As alleged, wow.
You think it's the right call?
100%.
CBN, NNPCL.
You see, that's why I said probably the likes of NIMASA, NDDC.
Maybe over time.
They should search, put up that satellite into all these agencies as well. Nigeria is too rich, but the citizens, the country is poor. The citizens are poor. Believe you me, I've always said something that probably I have a 50 million naira in my account today, and somebody offers me the opportunity to probably go to the US or Canada or something. Seriously, I prefer to stay in Nigeria. You know why?
Why?
Being in the US or Canada or the United Kingdom, you are a third, fourth, or fifth class citizen. Here, you have the opportunity. As much as their laws are very intact, their rules and regulations are very consistent. If we can bring such into this country, it will be so glad. It will be so nice.
The rule of law.
The rule of law that look, I've had the at least just probably once a couple of years ago, whereby I was booked. I needed not the police officer. He doesn't need to wait for me because I parked wrongly, and just a few meters, the tire of my car actually crossed where I should park. He dropped the ticket in front of my windshield. Somewhere in Atlanta, and my brother, my uncle, my mom's younger sister, brother that I was with, just came up like, "Tunde Aregbesola, what happened?" He now like, because he's been based there. You need not just take that paper and throw it away. You have to go to the office,
of course,
and then you pay the fine and everything.
That's all the officer needs to do, and he expects you to do the needful.
Look, I've said this several times that a police officer probably in the US or thereabout will just hoot behind you. Boop, boop. You know you just have to park.
And then wait for...
He comes down from the vehicle and he says, "Good afternoon, good morning," and what have you. But here, it's the other way around.
All right.
The officer will actually shout at you, "Park!" You know,
I think it's a two-way thing. Our response to the people in uniform, sometimes it stems from our experiences with some of them as well. So The moment they appear, most persons are upset, they're agitated.
Yeah.
The next thing is, so what does he want to do? You know, but that's another topic, by the way.
Yeah, but looking at all this, we just hope the investigators will do the needful. Will be thorough.
It will just be an academic thing,
honestly.
by the way. And investigators to go after ex-Buhari appointees, private individuals hiding government funds. So we get to see an APC government that will be probing
and another
APC government.
To be honest, if we want to get it right, we shouldn't mind the fact that because we are from the same party.
Yeah.
But people will say this is a vendetta because of what witch hunting a couple of people did to the president, Mr. President, now that they know that while he was campaigning, that was why this happened. And but we'll keep our fingers crossed.
But I'm sure Nigerians won't mind. Yeah. Whatever name you call it.
Look, it's really going to speak for him as well.
Yeah. Okay. Now, talking about the situation in Niger.
Oh my goodness.
Niger coup plotters dismiss ECOWAS threat. Bazoum reinstatement. You know, there was a communique by the chairman of the ECOWAS sub-region that's talking about President Tinubu, and they said they are giving the coup plotters 7 days to change their mind.
Yeah.
And the guys are saying, we are not buying this. We are still in charge here. Niger.
You see, it's such a pathetic state because looking at it, there's quite a whole lot of African countries whereby coup plotters find their way and get away with it and what have you. But in this modern world, democracy should thrive, and they should allow democracy. But I'm not totally going to condemn what the army have come to do in Niger, the coup, the overthrowing of the current president there, because when I saw the Accountant General of the Federation in Niger, when they gave him an ultimatum that all the money is stolen, there's corruption virtually everywhere, and I wonder how much they've got in Niger that somebody else is stealing what they got in that country. And we saw him wiping his tears. He was crying out.
But I saw that video as well. But then, you know, sometimes on social media space, you have to be careful about what you say, because the visual could be different from the narration of the audio as well. But then, you know, talking about coup plotting, I think it should be condemned in its entirety. 100%. It's outdated, it's bad, it's barbaric, it should not be entertained, even when possibly there are leaders, they're possibly in the military, who have seen that the way this country is run is not the best. There are ways to follow. There are things to do. Necessary. I mean, it doesn't have to be a coup. And now the ECOWAS, they are trying to intervene. At the bottom strip here, still on the Punch, NDLEA naps Lagos nightclubs drug suppliers. Government wants operators, okay? Still on the bottom strip, there is a red part there. Operation Flush. 88 robbery suspects arrested in Lagos. Clampdown continues, okay? I think that's the way to go. Over 2,000 Nigerian girls stranded in Mali. That's coming from LATEEF, okay? At the top strip there, NLC insists on Wednesday strike, mobilizes workers today.
And I saw it yesterday while NLC spoke that, look, go get drugs, food, things in the house. They're in for a show. They're in for a big show.
I think this is avoidable, if you ask me.
That's the only language government.
Must we go through this round?
No, we shouldn't. Seriously. But in Nigeria today, that's the only language government understands.
The hard way.
The hard way.
Being the only way.
Okay. While you tried doing a couple of official assignments, I think last week Thursday, when we had the NAD set of people, the National Association of Resident Doctors. They had a meeting in Lagos, and we were live on the program on Zoom, and they came up to tell us what are the things, the demands that they had been demanding since 2009. 2009. This is 2023. 14 years. These are honestly
as of now.
Oh my goodness!
We just hope we won't go this route. You know, talking about what on Wednesday be the deadline. All right, moving on. Kanu returns to DSS custody after checkup by personal doctors, okay? And the big one that will be happening today, especially at the National Assembly, 15 ministerial nominees submit credentials ahead of screening, and then one submission of credentials. And but the basic event is about the screening.
Yeah.
And many persons, I've talked with a couple of persons and then analysts, opinion molders. It seems many persons are not really too, you know, like excited because they feel it's the usual.
Yeah, you see.
Take a bow and go.
And
it's starting today.
If and just if portfolios will be attached to the names of each of the ministerial nominees, it will be a better. I know what to ask you. All right, you are going to be in charge of finance, education. All the questions will be relevant towards that agency and
what
how
you're bringing
to the table.
That ministry.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But you just ask Minister Susan to come. All right. How are you? Fine. How do you intend to look? Let's have ambiguity. Thank you. You say, let's just have that portfolio attached that they know what to do. But it just speaks about, even if that is not going to happen, it speaks about what we've got, the kind of set of people we have at the National Assembly. Are they bright set of people who will ask the needful questions? We keep our fingers crossed.
Yes, we do. Yes. Let's
move on. And Daily Trust is the next daily I have with me. We'll just try as much as possible to look at some of the other stories we've not had, but we'll reel through some of the others as well. Going straight to the Niger, which is the big bold caption on the pages of Daily Trust. Coupies seek Russia's help as ECOWAS more military action. That's where I'm a little bit pissed off. All right. Vladimir Putin seemed to be using the Wagner group because I think over the weekend, looking at Wagner, they're just close to Mali at this moment in time, and we've seen what's been happening in the Russia-Ukraine war.
That's what many persons have been saying, that there are international dimensions to these things, especially from these big nations trying to have their interest and then to support a part against another part. And you know, these usually, according to history, history has taught us that when these things happen, it didn't just happen with it. There are collaborators.
Obviously.
There are financiers.
Obviously.
There are people who support with weapons, with logistics, with everything. And now that's what we are reading this morning.
There's quite a whole lot of rider associated to that story still. Clash imminent as a regional body orders border closure, no-fly zone. Chief of Defense Staff asked to act. French embassy attacked. U.S. considers cutting of ties. Military intervention will be catastrophic. And that's the honest truth. Looking at Niger, looking at Nigeria, and with our borders very porous, easily the influx of people that will come in through from Niger to Nigeria, and
that's what happens when there is unrest, you know, in a particular place, in a particular community, a society, talking about a nation now. All the border nations tends to bear it because people will tend to run away from insecurity, and then there will be influx of these persons into your country, and that becomes an humanitarian situation, crisis of which you have to cater for, and then it puts a stress on your own planning, and it's really worries.
Seriously.
Really.
All right, let's take our trip to Adamawa State. You can see that picture on the front page of the Daily Trust. Troops deployed in states as Nema warehouse looted in Adamawa. They're quoting the governor here. Fintiri declares curfew as 4 hoodlums killed, 80 arrested. That's what we're talking about. Look at that. 4. Even if they aren't hoodlums, but of course, they are found in that position. They will
either as a bystander or somebody actively involved.
States yet to receive grains 10 days after Tinubu's directive. Now, where are those grains? Mr. President has given a marching order. He has asked grains to be. Where are they? Why would some set of people just not listen to orders? It's just like my chairman here says, Tunde, I want you to go and I decided just to go and sit in my office. I don't know. I've got another job. I don't have a choice. I have to. Right. On the top strip of Daily Trust, one killed, several shops burned as Imo government demolishes Hausa settlements. I hope that's not going to cause another tribe and what have you. Air connectivity worsens on northern routes. Fares skyrocket for those who are probably traveling now. At least I still find peace in staying here. Fuel price hikes. State strategize ahead. Labor's protest strike. All this can be found from the pages of Daily Trust newspaper.
And then we have The Guardian for this morning. Economy, rule of law, foreign policy, security, top agenda for nominees. Okay. We wait to see how that will pan out later today, because the screening starts this morning. Conventionally, the plenary starts every week on Tuesday. But then, you know, this is something that the National Assembly must have, you know, they just have to do it. In fact, they could have gone on recess, but then there is a national assignment, and in which the National Assembly members are priding themselves to be doing extracurricular, you know, that kind of talk, that they are doing something that, you know, they are going through the pains to do this. And some are wondering, what exactly are you guys doing? All right, economy, rule of law, foreign policy, security, top agenda for nominees. And this is very important to the economy of any nation. The rule of law, just like you have talked about, and security of lives and properties has to be guaranteed. Okay, talking about the key expectations, there is a picture and some, you know, graph-like image there, talking about addressing insecurity challenges, economy revamp and poverty reduction, foreign policy, respect for the rule of law, and among other things as well. The pictures of some of the nominees are there as well. So moving on, unemployment. Unemployment concerns as 7 firms lose 624 billion to Naira depreciation. That's a whole lot. Flouting. That's a lot now. That's a whole lot. NLC mobilizes, meets civil society ahead of Wednesday's action. Okay, anti-corruption. Tinubu appoints special investigator, probes CBN and related entities. Bottom strip there in blue, Presidential Tribunal, INEC. Tinubu, Atiku will be to adopt final addresses tomorrow. Okay, and top strips in blue, Nigeria leaders warn ECOWAS as commission imposes sanctions. Native, this is quite an interesting one. Absolutely. Look at that amount. Native doctor pays 350 million naira ransom, recounts kidnappers' killing of 20. Different strokes for different folks. Tinubu commends AIG Foundation for Civil Service Development. That's all there is about The Guardian for this morning. Today.
Yeah, some of the headlines that we've got from the few dailies we have for us this morning. Before we take a break, we'd like to let you know that very shortly we will be joined by a couple of guests in the house this morning. Let's look at some of the campaign promises made by the Executive Governor of Osun State, His Excellency Governor Ademola Nuruddin Jackson Adeleke, during his campaign period, looking at the outstanding arrears of pensioners that the state have been owing this set of people since the Aregbesola government then at that moment in time. And Mr. Governor at this time says, hey, you've got half, we're paying the other half. And this is the third batch, I think. Yeah, the third batch. We'll bring you statistics and we'll be joined very shortly by a couple of guests, and we will be discussing this on the show. And
that speaks to holding leaders by their words.
Absolutely.
Getting them accountable. What have you promised to people?
Are you fulfilling?
Be able to deliver. And that's, you know, part of the reasons why we're having this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll go into details. Please stay with us.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and the People, among 6 other books. Bola Ige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bola Ige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bola Ige as a watershed character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela Anbe Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Fumilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Funmilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Funmilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela was an anti-apartheid activist who gave his all for the elimination of what has been described as the world's most vicious rule of the unjust and man's inhumanity against man. He was born July 18, 1918 in Mvezo, South Africa. Educated and trained as a successful legal practitioner, he took up the gauntlet of a human activist against segregation by the minority white supremacist in South Africa. At the climax of his trial for treason, orchestrated by the minority South African government, the great crusader for democratic equality was prepared to pay the supreme sacrifice to establish majority rule in his native land. He told white jurists that if achieving freedom for his people was worth his life, he was prepared to die. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in Robben Island, described as the most notorious prison in the world. It was from this same prison that he came out as a free man to assume office as South Africa's first black president in 1994. Western Spring Television identifies Nelson Mandela as a watershed character in history. Aminatu, the legendary Queen of Zazzau, is best known to historians as Queen Amina of Zaria, an old walled town and capital of the Hausa state of Zazzau. Amina was a great warrior and the first woman to rule the ancient kingdom of Zazzau. The 34 years as queen witnessed an unprecedented expansion of Zazzau by conquests. Queen Amina of Zaria belongs to the class of Amazons by the might of her army and her strings of conquests. She opened Zaria to trans-border trade and was said to have initiated kola nut cultivation in the ancient kingdom. The Hausa Muslim figure was born in 1533 and died in 1610 at the age of 77 years. Folklores remember Aminatu, the Queen of Zazzau, as a brave, smart and talented leader whose giant statue now adorns the National Arts Theatre in Lagos, Nigeria, while many educational institutions bear her name. Western Spring Television identifies Queen Amina as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back to Morning Springs for today. And we get talking right now. And the conversation, as we earlier said, will be about the promise of Mr. Governor, talking about the governor of Osun State, Governor Adeleke, when he was campaigning and seeking the validation, the vote of the people, while addressing the civil servant, both the ones that are active in service and the ones that are retired. He promised them that he was going to, offset the arrears owed by previous government in the state. Definitely talking about the half salary, some of those, salaries that were not completely paid to the civil servants at the time, especially that started during the administration of former governor Aregbesola. That's what the governor promised them. And now we're going to analyze it this morning. How well has he made good of his promise? Because it's not enough to promise the people. You must make good of your promise. So has he done that? How many months is he, is the salary arrears that we're talking about? How many billions are we talking about? How many months has he paid? So that is the conversation for today. Of course, TUNDE is still here. And this morning we have in the house that will be giving us what has been done so far. Media assistant, ICT to the governor, Mr. ISOLA. Mr. ISOLA, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Good morning, brother.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for finding time to be here. I know. Let's just get down to the business of the morning once again. If you're just joining us, we'd like to welcome you. And let's look at governance. We need to hold our leaders accountable for words, promises that they have made. Is it just an aspect whereby they are campaigning? That's all at that period. But there seems to be a twist to things, but the twist seems to look positive. Once again, let me go straight to our guest this moment. Mr. Governor has actually just been able to do the third batch of monies owed during subsequent administration. About 2 administrations before this, all these monies were accrued during the Aregbesola administration. I know there is 126 billion in half salaries that weren't paid before he left, and also there is also the 50 billion naira in pensions related debt from the previous government. As an Osun indigene here and a part of this administration, Mr. Governor seems to be fulfilling his promise. And let's take away sentiments here. You working with him, how do you feel about the fact that what he has done at this moment, is it changing this narrative of people making promises during campaign? Is he fulfilling his promises at this moment in time?
Well, like they say, I'd say that the answers to the question you just asked is visible to the blind and audible to the deaf. Because the way the administration started, coming in, of course, as the governor of Osun State, everybody knows that there was a lot of trouble on ground. There was a lot of mess, to be cleared. If we want to make the state better. Unfortunately or fortunately, almost everybody in the state is affected, because there's at least in every family there will be a civil servant, or there would be someone who is working with the government who is affected by the decisions of the administration of Aregbesola. For which, of course, a lot of times it's been discussed, and I would say that the last administration was a bit negligent about, that's the administration of Governor ISOLA as well, was a bit negligent on that, because this is a state where the largest population of employed persons in this state are government workers. And so that means that the economy of the state runs on those salaries. So if we say that poverty is increasing, the poverty rate is increasing in the state, it means that because people are not getting paid for what they are doing. And I think it's about leadership. It's a systems problem. It's a structural problem because I'm a Christian, so I'll give an example from the Bible. Each time Jesus, healed the sick, they'll say that you'll see that a preceding verse before then will say that he had compassion on them. So that means he understands the plight of the people. And so how do people work and not get paid? I asked the question. All right, so we were saying that the state is broke. We want to ensure that, because I read, then it was in 2017, and NLC was saying that so they had to meet the governor, and they had to decide on salary deduction because of not salary, because they realized that if that is not done, the government may have to sack workers. And I'm like, so that's the solution. Okay, how about people? Everybody, the people who were affected by this, we're earning less than $100 per month. If someone who is earning less than $100 per month have to go down on half salary, how about the persons who are appointees of the government who are earning about $1,000 per month or close to $1,000 per month? But how about that? How about, why don't we focus on them? Why focus on people who are working and are earning? I mean, they are like the guys on the lower level of the ladder. Yeah. So it's a wrong decision. That was a wrong decision, and it was because at that time the government was doing bigger than it was earning, and then there were a lot of loans that were taken that will need to be paid, that need to be paid back. As of today, Osun is paying back on a monthly basis from the federal allocation that we're getting. Close to about 33% of our allocation is going down to loan. So that's a lot. If you ask for a state like Osun, that's a lot. Looking at the level of our internal generated revenue. So I think everybody should applaud the governor for taking that step. Rather than create something new, clear the mess first, and then let's see something new that can come up. I'm affected. Almost everybody's affected.
Yes, Mr. Ashola, looking at, that's where we started the campaign promise.
Yes.
How well has the governor made good of that campaign as far as the payment? We are streamlining it to the payment of those areas. Yeah. How much has he paid? So how much was on ground?
So this is the payment that was made, that was announced recently, is the third batch. Okay. If you you would recall that when the governor said that we'll start the payment, it was announced that it will be structural. Okay. Structural because if we do a lump sum, it will have a tolling effect on the resources that's available. That means the government will not be able to do other things. So they have to structure the payment into one per quarter, one payment per quarter. And if you look at it, the government is running to 9 months now, which would mean that we're paying the third batch. In another 3 months, we'll pay another batch. We're looking at 16 months. Okay. We're looking at the way, a structural way that the government can complete the payment before the administration, before this first time of the administration, elapsed. So I'd say that the governor is keeping his promise. I'd say that because, of course, at the time when that the third batch was announced, it's also a time that the opposition party in the state are already looking at it and looking for opportunities to take on the government, on some issues. And so for us to continue what we started, because of course I remember, the second batch was paid very close to election period, and then the noise started from the opposition party that it was a decision based on the fact that the governor is looking for sympathy from the people in the state. He paid that arrears because he wants, PDP wants to win the election. But now he's paying the third batch.
How much has he paid so far?
In figures, yeah, 3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
3 months. Okay. There was a belief, really, or a narration that the governor, while he was campaigning, gave a timeline of 6 months or thereabout, that when he was addressing the people involved at the time and said, in 6 months, I'm going to offset all this bills. Was that true?
So coming here this morning, I had already prepared for this question. Because I know you will ask. Because I had seen a lot of people talk about it. That's not true. Nobody would make
never gave any
bogus claim. We've asked questions.
Okay.
And when people say that, I say, bring the video clip, let me say it. No one has been able to provide any. Where did he say it? When did he say it? If he did, there should be evidence, of course. The press will be there. Other people will be there. The opposition party who are making the claim, did they have the video? Where did he say it? Who did he say it to? Did he say the campaign ground? where is the evidence? So the question I'm asking is, where is the evidence? He never said such. It's impossible for anybody to come and claim that you would clear a mess of 16 months in 6 months.
You know,
looking at the realistic value of the money available in the state.
Politicians, for who they are, many persons believe they say things that just what they think people want to hear.
And so I've started using say it off record, so they should bring the proof. Let's see the proof. Well, he said it and how he said it.
Let's just see what this looks like. We'll keep our fingers crossed. But Osun State has not been able to really do the needful over the years. In terms of when it comes to payment of that's where the accrued pension salaries, owing half salaries being paid and whatever. But here is a governor who is doing the needful and bringing out this in one way. How is he generating this money?
Well, so I mean, one of the things that
the other administration couldn't generate.
Okay, so I don't think that the payment of arrears is based on generating or not generating revenue. I think
the money has been there.
I think it's just a decision.
Okay.
That's why I talked about compassion earlier. I think it's just a decision. For one, the state is generating money internally on a monthly basis. Two, the state is getting allocation from the federal government on a monthly basis, even though that's affected because of there are times when deficit comes. There are times when the deduction is bigger than the amount of money that is coming in the state, and then we get deficits. But that doesn't happen all the time. It happens maybe 2 or 3 times in the year. And so it's just a decision. And then something very important that the governor said was that we're blocking loopholes. Areas where people siphoned government money, for nothing. So these are some of the areas where, we've been able to gather more money to cover the expenses that would affect the government. Because of course, this is about, when people are paid for what they are doing. There's something about them that wants to do their job appropriately well. So when we blame civil servants, we will consider their plight as well. I mean, because when I'm paid, maybe for instance, I'm supposed to be earning 100K and I'm paid 50K, and I know that my boss, who is a political appointee, is probably getting better and will still get extra. There is no way I'll be committed to my job. I mean, it's just normal. It happens everywhere. So that's why we're doing that, to put smile on the face of civil servants and also ensure that we are able to boost their working morale.
You spoke about loopholes. Let me just drive back all together with you here. These loopholes, weren't they there with previous administration, most especially starting with that of Aregbesola before the ISOLA administration? Now that Governor Adeleke has been able to find those loopholes, he's blocking them. Weren't there these loopholes before now?
Well, and better still, maybe you should just answer it together. What are these loopholes? Where are the loopholes?
Well, so I mean, recently there was a report that went on Twitter, and then they were talking about some contracts that were awarded to companies that never existed.
Wow.
So and then the company's address was Alegbesola, and somebody on Twitter went there, it was a contract that was awarded in the last administration, and I think it was around some millions, hundreds of millions. I'm not sure. I can't remember the specific figure now, so I don't give a wrong figure. And then somebody on Twitter went there and discovered that company never even existed. Those are the things that we call verification of so you want to get this thing done. Where is
an individual investigation?
Okay, of course. So because look, when governments, like the way government is composition of the government is political appointees and the people who call civil servants, right? So in a number of cases, approvals goes without following due process. Okay. And when that happens, what it means is that no verification was done, and then some people just get money out of government and do nothing. Those are the areas, when they say loopholes, those are the areas where you could consider as loophole. Because when somebody takes, as Osun is today, if someone takes 100 million out of the government, almost everybody will feel it. Because of course, how much do we even have that comes in on a monthly basis? You understand? So those are the areas that are regarded as loopholes. If I could remember, you know, your questions, the loopholes have been there, and it is certain that nobody sits on the power on the governor of the state and will claim not to be aware of those loopholes. It could be negligence. I don't want to call it ignorance, but it could be ignorance as well.
All right, you know, I'm talking about the campaign promise, really. The payment of arrears, and the one that you have said that the government, you can confirm that 3 months are being paid now out of the arrears owed by successive administration. Now, some will say, is this not, you know, the usual antecedent of a government that is relatively new in power? When they
come in the first step.
The honeymoon period, which they tend to do well, and after some time, they derail, really.
I think 9 months is enough to derail.
Out of 4 years?
Yeah, I think 9 months is enough to derail, if this government is going to derail. Because if you say 9 months honeymoon, I consider a young man getting married and spending 9 months is enough to give birth to a child. Right? So I'd say that it's impossible to derail at the rates that we're going. You know, because of course, look, these decisions to pay arrears, I mean, the actual payment of arrears started when we have not had an executive council. It was just the governor in council running the state. Now we have an executive council, which would mean that some of the things that were causing noise, which was actually depending on the decision of the executive council, would now be able to do it. So I don't see this administration derailing. And I'm not saying this because I'm an appointee. I'm saying this because, look, I'm saying we didn't have a reason. If it was political, we didn't have a reason to pay third batch. Because of course we have won all the elections that we needed to win. So it's no longer political if we still paid another batch after we have won an election. That's what I'm saying.
So there is this total promise that even after this third, looking at the amount being said, 26 and then 50, the continuation will still be there.
Definitely. It's quarterly. That's the structure that was designed.
But the people of Osun State can take your words at this moment that Mr. Governor is not going to derail.
The announcement when it was made had made it clear that it will be made quarterly.
During the campaigns?
No.
Was it there at the time? Were the people aware? Because I think these are the things that
the initial statement that was issued.
You promised us to do this thing at a particular time.
So
now, after you are in power, you are coming in with structures and strategies in place.
No, of course, there would be structure. I mean, nobody runs, even in an organization, nobody runs an organization without a structure.
No, what I'm saying is, before, when you were making the campaigns, before your government got into power, like, we are going to do this, we are going to pay this. So were the people aware of these payment structure?
Oh, no. So
before election?
The campaign promise.
Okay.
Number one, workers' welfare, including retirees and pensioners and all of those things. When we got into government, and of course there would be a meeting to decide, we want to do this. How best can we run it? We need to ask questions. How best can we run it? You see, you don't forget the fact that we can actually pay off at once and then start owing again. Because of course there's no enough resources to do that. So rather than owe again, it's best to keep paying monthly, and then the structured payment for the one that's been owed. Because of course, you know, it's possible for the government to say, I didn't owe you guys now. The last admission, because government is continuing. And that's why even some of the projects that were inherited had to be completed. So, while we were campaigning, the promise was that the arrears will be paid. And now the arrears are being paid. That's my point.
My brother, let's look at the appointees at this moment in time. We hope this won't affect this payment quarterly. Looking at the number of commissioners that have just come in, the special advisors that have just come in, because obviously, just as you rightly said now, that Mr. Governor can come out tomorrow and say, I wasn't the one owing you guys.
No, I'm saying he could have said that earlier. I didn't say he would say that later.
We need to be very honest with ourselves. Looking at the number, some people have reacted, so many people have reacted to the amount of number.
I think we need to be
25
clear.
commissioners, 44 special advisors.
I think
so this is their wage bill not affect what is going on.
There is something, you know, the funniest thing is that we have, in Nigeria, we have an issue with transparency. Okay. Everybody expects transparency from government. And then when the government is transparent, then everybody criticizes the government. Nobody can tell me the number of special advisors that the immediate past administration had, including that of Aregbesola. We don't know the number. You announce 2 today, 3 tomorrow. That way you can't tell how many do you have. But this person came up and said, okay, look, out of these the 44 special advisors, only 10 is cabinet, which means the cabinet members are 35. Then you count 25 commissioners, that's 7 rather, 25 commissioners, 10 special advisors, governor and deputy governor. Now, the immediate past administration had 37. The administration of Aregbesola had 39. So, see, when I said structure, it was because, of course, all these factors had been considered. And let's not forget that some key areas were announced. One of them is SDG. The governor now has an advisor on SDG. SDG is the global, is the current global conversation.
Absolutely.
We can even allow the state to get other sources of funding. So if we don't do an appropriate, decision on that, or probably we don't have somebody that's handling that for the state, there'll be a lot of, areas where we should have converted into currency that we are not looking at. So I'm saying that would not affect the payment of areas, not in any way.
That calls for a little bit of smile.
Of course, it's expected that people are concerned.
Very,
because we all care about the state.
Talking about some of these things that are being reeled out, it's not because the media is the mirror of the society. And, if anything, the information on the street, in the society, in the community, is anything to go by. It's not because the people, especially talking about the Osun people, are pessimistic, or they want the government to fail, or they don't trust. It's because of the antecedents.
No, I don't agree with you completely, and I'm sorry to say that.
How so?
When you can speak for yourself. That you don't want the government, the governor to fail.
Of course, we speak for the people, and that's why you are here.
I've listened to a number of people, and I'm amazed at the things they say. Of course, maybe because they are in the opposition party. There's so many things that are said that is said, and you wonder, is this person really wishing the governor bad? There's a saying that you cannot wish your state well and wish that the governor fails. If the governor fails, this state is going, all of us are going to go down together. So why wish him, he's just doing this, he can't do better. It's a terrible thing to say. Because of course, Jesse is the governor of the state. We have an executive council, which means even though he has the power, some decisions will be vested on that council. So why can't we trust ourselves enough to say, okay, let's see what happens, and then the criticism will be, constructive, not some funny. I heard one over the week, and somebody was talking about the fact that he's talking about the tech innovation drive, and I'm like, so who doesn't know tech is a journey? It's a journey. These are investments that is being made. That we have a policy that will guide us. It's because we cannot have tech companies who can access funds from this will not come. The result of that will not come in 2-3 days.
All right.
So I think that we need to, apart from the fact that of course opposition and politics is allowed, but we need to be constructive to our criticism. People need to know that somebody road construction and they finished it, and someone goes there and says, what did they even do? Really?
All right. Mr. Oshala, I was going to talk about the people, not talking about the political class, who wants the state to succeed. And the fact that they want the best, irrespective of the political party in power. You know, and talking about opposition, that's their work. They should. When you were in opposition, talking about the PDP in the state for 12 years, and you played your part of the opposition. And some will not say, most of the opposition, that the PDP did at the time was constructive, depending on who you are asking. If I may, really. You're just talking about the Osun people. Like, can they continue to trust your government to deliver on every campaign promise? Now, the case in question this morning is about the payment of salaries, of which you have said they have been doing this. The strategies there, the structures there, and they are paid for the third month. But will you make bold of that statement to say, Osun, you're in good hands? Whatever the governor has said, is going to do.
I think when people make decisions, they make decisions based on their own conviction, which would mean that they trust who they are voting for. And so far, I'm not sure that Governor Adeleke has disappointed. And that I can say, you'd continue to fulfill his promises to the people of the state. That I can assure anyone.
All right.
You can assure. Okay, Femi, you want to say something? Okay.
You know, let's now go to your PPA, as they say, your primary place of assignment. Yeah, talking about tech, but then just hold on. I just like to prepare your mind, because we go your route right now, but that will be after this short break. The program is still Morning Springs on Western Spring Television. Please do stay with us. We'll be back.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Evelyn Ohiole, King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and it feels so reserved. It really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate what the too much attachment to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? You know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday? They are saying it favors you. Are they vague so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Who are you now?
Well, MC Too Much said he likes saying when I was in the world, and the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, is he actually out of this world? We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So MC Too Much, I beg when you talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk about I kiss my ass.
I think I have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach too much importance to that gender.
It's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism. Because at the end of the day, a man who is secure in his words, a man who is confident of who he is, will not really be disturbed as to whether women are being referred to as champions or not. I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph's a really great guy, but whether he likes it or not, women are champions.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman
Thank you for being there with us. It's still Morning Spring this beautiful Monday morning, 31st day in the month of July 2023. And it's just so amazing that the year is fast running to an end. When did we start July? But then all glory to God right about now. All right, we have been talking to Mr. Shola. I love his name. I don't know, maybe it's related to the Aishu Pepe on a lighter note. One of the special aides to the executive governor of Osun State on ICT. And we have been looking at the half salary, the third tranche, the third batch that was recently paid over the weekend. The spokesman to Mr. Governor and also one of the special advisors, Madam Wale Rashid, coming out with a press statement concerning the third batch of monies owed since the Aregbesola administration for salaries. We have about 26 billion naira as of then, and we also have about 50 billion naira of pensioners being owed in this state. And how well has he fared? And Mr. Shola has been helping us out to really get this right. But joining us also on set, he is an APC stalwart, and he is a man who is filled with intelligence. I would like to welcome Mr. LATEEF Abiodun, who is joining us on set. Good morning to you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, let's just continue looking at, before we now properly now move to ICT, and let's looking at what it looks like for us. If you are not conversant with Osun State, you probably get to know that we've seen some laborers digging, laying pipes. When Mr. Governor came up and said, look, ICT is one thing that needs to thrive, and these days I might have a tab and I might not leave Osun State, and it gets to Abuja, it gets to Kaduna through technology, and that is something that we are really going to enjoy here, as promised by Mr. Governor. And one of his promises is what he is making sure it happens. That is the payment of the third tranche of salaries, half salary owed since the days of former Governor Aregbesola. Where do we go from here? Let's still stay with, before we bring in Mr. Abiodun on board here. Are we saying this will not stop? Osun people can go to bed with both eyes closed? That very soon eyes will even be closed totally, not just one eye closed.
I am saying that this will not stop. Basically because when the second tranche was paid, people thought it was because the government or the PDP wanted to win election at all costs. But now elections are over.
Yeah.
If it was a decision that was made out of, by now I would say that you would think that of course he has no reason to pay anymore. But a third batch being paid. The question is, why should it stop? You know, the question is, are people not glad that this money, is being paid? Should it be condemned for paying, salary areas that are owed?
Right.
I'm saying this will not stop.
Yeah. Let's bring in Mr. ABDDUL at this time. You are in the opposition right now. Your party was in power for 12 years, starting from Ogbeni. He was governor for 8 years, and Aregbesola was governor for 4 years as well. Now, it is the PDP that are in power in Osun. And now talking about these areas, the half salary that was held by successive governments, Mr. ISOLA is here and is saying it is a known fact that the governor made campaign promise about this issue and then is fulfilling it. He has just paid the third tranche, offsetting the 3 months of half salary, as we all knew it at that time. So, and they're saying, he's saying this morning, that the government is doing well. They are doing exactly what they have promised to people. Do you agree?
Thank you very much. First of all, let us put something into perspective.
Okay.
We shouldn't be, I think, at this time of our life, national life, the issue of salary areas, payment of salary, not payment of salary or gratuities and all that, shouldn't be the focus of governance. It should be something that should come naturally. If people work, put in their effort, they should be paid. So it is unfortunate that at this time of our lives, we are still talking about that. That is that. Then on the issue of the payment, you see, the issue has been politicized seriously. And then for that reason, it shouldn't be an issue of campaign too. But it is, you cannot, when you're talking about facts, and realities and then issues that are around the state, there are issues we should be put into perspective. Number one, the former governor Oyetola, at the time he came in, he said no, there will be no more half salary. But if we are to be fair, with him, we will know that at that time he cannot be paying full salaries and at the same time clearing some of this debt. And I said, okay, I don't want to go for half salary. I'll be paying full salary, but I'll be clearing some, pensions, gratuities and all that. But I may not be able to touch this. That's the reality. Then when the governor came, when Governor Ademola was campaigning, he said he's going to clear it in 6 months. Within 6 months he's going to clear it. But one thing about
but that's been debunked.
Yeah, it has been debunked. But no, the problem is that he said it, but unfortunately we couldn't get him on record that, so that by now we'll be saying, well, he actually said that.
So
but
there's no proof.
Yes. What I'm saying in essence is that whether he said he's going to pay it in 6 months or not, government should be continuing. When you come to power, whatever you meet, whether the person that left your predecessor is of your party or not, you have to just continue from there. So, but the issue is that it's like when somebody is at the driver's side or at the back, is not, even if he's beside the driver, he's not likely to get the right perspective of the road than the driver. He might say, why are you driving this way? Why are you doing this way? That was what the PDP was doing when we were in power. But now the reality has dawned on them that now there are things that cannot be done, whether there is no way you can go about it. But this is what we are saying is that the issue of pension, the issue of arrears, salary arrears, should not be politicized to the extent that we now use it to campaign, because we're talking about lives of people who put in their labor, and at the end of the day, to get their salary back is not an issue. So, in fairness to Governor Oyetola, he tried his best, and we are also happy. But one thing I want us to bring out, I want us to clear out, is that the current administration is also doing it the way Oyetola was doing it. Yes, I'll tell you how. People were thinking when this administration is on board, it's just going to bring money, very big money from somewhere, and everything will be cleared. No. It is on record, and it's a fact that the Oyetola administration also was paying it in batches and tranches. So every 3 months, he will release 1.1 billion, sometimes 750 million and all that, so that some of these things will be cleared. So I think...
Sorry, Mr. Abdul-Lateef, what was he clearing? The half salary?
No. It was the pensions. The pensions.
Okay.
Now, as for the half salaries, the governor is a good financial. The former governor was a very good manager of finances. Okay. So he knew that everything cannot be brought together. Paying half salary, paying the gratuities, paying full salary, and also trying to clear that. Okay, let us put this. When we have money, we are going to do it. But I'll give kudos to the administration of Governor Adeleke. I mean, for also doing his own. But let us not politicize it. It's not as if he's doing favor to anybody. It is what he met on ground, and that is what governance is all about. So we shouldn't be making it look as if he's doing anybody any favor. So he met it on ground. He has to pay it. He has to do it, because as at the moment he has been sworn in, he stops to be he stops being the candidate of PDP. Right. He has become the governor of the state, irrespective of the political party and all that. So that is my...
Two things quickly. You talked about the fact that salary shouldn't be a big deal. It's the responsibility of any government to pay, especially workers that has done his or her job. Now, one of the fundamental function or responsibility of any government is to see to the security and the welfare of his people. Now, payment of salary is a responsibility of the government. So, if there was a government in power who didn't do the needful, due to reasons best known to them at the time, and there is a government coming into power to offset what other previous government didn't do, don't you think that deserves kudos? Number one. Number two, you said these areas that we're talking about, the half salaries, has always been there since the government of former Governor Aregbesola. Now, when Governor ISOLA came into power, he chose, according to your words now, he chose not to follow that part. He chose not to pay, but instead he said he was going to focus on payment of pensions and gratuities, and he did that.
Full salary.
And full salary, of course. And this government has come to say, okay, what the ISOLA administration didn't do, they are going to do it to offset those salaries. You know, they have a structure for doing that. They are going to still be paying salaries and possibly still going to pay pensions and gratuities. So you're taking off that responsibilities for them. Would you have preferred that the people of Osun who are owed those half salary just leave it like that and they won't be paid?
Thank you very much. See,
so that we don't get it mixed up.
Yes, let me make a clarification.
Okay.
Oyetola did not choose not to pay them deliberately, but the finances. In fairness to him, now. I mean, everybody is aware that, the federal allocation is going up, not as the way it was when Oyetola was there. And then, you see, there is one thing Oyetola did not do, that people are not taking cognizance of that. And it was because Oyetola decided not to do that, that was why the administration of the PDP in Osun State today are finding it easy to do some of the things they are doing.
What's that thing?
Thank you. Oyetola did not borrow a dime. The actual borrowing of money, and now he met. Yeah, is correct, and he met huge debt held by the administration of Aregbesola. Now it is not bad to borrow. It's not borrowing is not a bad thing, but when you borrow, you have to put that into constructive development that will have direct impact on your citizens. But when you borrow to do jamborees and to do all that, and he said, "No, I'm not going to borrow." That's a kudos to him. If I'm not borrowing, I'm stopping the half salary. That's a kudos also to him. If I'm not saying the way the commitment that I'm not when I discuss pensions, when me on radio on TV, salaries and all that, I don't like putting much politics into it. This is because we are talking of lives of people who labor for that. It shouldn't be politics. So, but when we are discussing some of these things, we have to bring out some fact and all that. So he decided to pay in the full salary. The reason why he couldn't pay the half salary areas was because as at that time he couldn't have done that without borrowing or without anything, with the little allocation that was coming. In fact, it was because he find his way around the issue of IGR and all that. That was the way he could be able to, and the issue of PPP in project execution. That was the reason he was able to do some of the projects he did. So I think what I want to say about salary arrears is that it shouldn't be politicized. The government is on board, and is a government of the people, irrespective of the political party. And even the Oyetola administration did not politicize it that much. So we shouldn't politicize it. We are giving, me personally, I give kudos to the administration for doing it, because it has to be done by somebody. If he didn't do it, if any other administration should come in, they will have to do it. So since he is doing it, we give him kudos, but it shouldn't be politicized. That is my point.
All right.
If I may.
Yeah, okay.
Because I beg to differ that you think that it's the PDP or the government of Governor Adeleke that is politicizing it. And I'll give you an instance. The last tranche that was announced, immediately after it was announced, the APC issued a statement and said, oh, but you promised to pay in 6 months. None of the statements issued, the statement issued from the government side did not even reflect. It was just that, okay, in fulfillment of the campaign. And of course, in the campaign, you said you will pay, and you said you are going to do the welfare of the people. So if you are now announcing a payment, and the opposition party comes to say, no, you didn't say that, you said you will pay in 6 months, why have you not paid in 6 months? Who then is politicizing it? That's my point. I don't think that it is the government of Adeleke that is politicizing the payment of salary arrears. I think it is the APC.
Right. Yeah, gentlemen, either of the political parties, but the government in place today will definitely hold them by the words. And yeah, part of the campaign promises was that he was the governor, which he said was going to look into the welfare of the citizens of this great state. We wish Mr. Governor the very best. But looking at gratuities, looking at pension, how well has this been going under this administration?
Okay, so there's a lot of issues around that, because there are a number of different subsets.
Okay.
Some people are on contributory pension, some people are on full pension. The contributory pension thing started under the government of Aregbesola. The challenge with that was that normally when you do contributory pension, some part of your salary is deducted, and then government pays the remaining part of that. For a long time, that payment was not made from Osun. And so that means that this is 2023. On that particular line, we are still talking 2017, 2016. You understand? So governments would keep releasing money, but people who are retiring recently will not benefit from that money, because there's a backlog of people coming from 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 up to 2022.
So the administration, because we are told we have a few minutes left before this program ends, the administration of Governor Adeleke, has he been upsetting any salary, any pension and gratuity?
Yes, of course. I can't remember the date specifically now, but I remember that a payment of about R1 billion or so was announced maybe last month. I can't remember this. I can check, but I can't remember the date specifically. It's not only paying. We're not only paying salary arrears. We can't pay salary arrears and leave pensioners. They also have a right to their benefits. All right,
Mr. Shalaf, if you can answer this question in 15 seconds. ICT in Osun. Making Osun an ICT hub, especially the pride of the Southwest. What's the plan in 15 seconds?
Okay, so the plan is to empower people with digital skills. As I speak to you today, we are already in conversation with Google, with Cisco, and a number of other tech companies like Microsoft to ensure that we do an empowerment program, which will be like a boot camp where we can train people to get certification in cybersecurity, database management, networking, and all of those things. So that's the plan, and it's a journey, really. We'll get there.
We're getting there. Okay. Gentlemen, we're out of time. Mr. ABDDUL, I know it's not going to be our last. We will definitely have time to
because I actually have some questions I want to pose to.
Don't worry.
Yeah. He has made a lot of, and I know there will be some other time where
Definitely. I would like to thank Mr. ISOLA, SA media, on ICT, with this very amazing administration of Governor Adeleke. Thank you for coming on the show this morning. And also an APC stalwart, should you say Alaji? LATEEF, ABDDUL, thank you for finding time. Okay, you will.
Thank you very much.
And that's the show this morning. As we wrap it up, we'll be back again tomorrow on another edition of the program. Quite a whole lot of programs have been lined up for our viewing pleasure today. TUNDE, IDOWU is my name. See you tomorrow.
And please to join us on all our social media platforms as well. And of course, on our YouTube page. Do have a very lovely day. God bless Nigeria. FEMI is my name. Bye-bye.
You got 2 rain towers, wind, lightning effects, and for this guy, it's not smooth sailing. He probably didn't want the job, but he didn't want to make waves either.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and it feels so reserved. It really doesn't have anything much to say when it comes to other stuff. But when it's the issue of sex, I believe he's being unnecessarily hyper. That's when I have to pick an issue with him. I mean, it's just being unnecessarily there when we're talking about sex. Just like a child, his mom just got him his favorite chocolate or ice cream, very happy, doing as though if he doesn't have sex for a day, he's going to die.
When it comes to finance, women also support their husbands financially. You need me emotionally. You need me spiritually.
Cassie is an amazing person, but I hate the too much attached to that gender. I need you spiritually, I need you mentally. I can get these things anywhere with money. If you go by the topic was, who does marriage favors the most? You know how many jobless women they marry every Saturday? They are saying it favors you, favor. Are they vague so?
Growing up, when I was in the world, we've heard of
Who are you now?
Well, MC Too Much said, he likes saying when I was in the world, And the last time I checked, well, it looks a bit innocent, facially, but deep down, is he actually out of this world? We're all in the world now. As long as you're alive, you're in the world. So, MC Too Much, I beg when you talk about that. I don't want to hear that. Next time you talk about I kiss my voice.
I think they have a problem with you saying ladies are champion, and that's the problem. Always trying to attach too much importance to that gender.
it's giving insecurity, it's giving low self-esteem, it's giving a blatant display of egoism. Because at the end of the day, a man who is secured in his words, a man who is confident of who he is, will not really be disturbed as to whether women are being referred to as champions or not. I mean, at the end of the day, Joseph's a really great guy, but whether he likes it or not, women are champions.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and the People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba socio-cultural and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history. Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Funmilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize was born 25th October 1900.